moved out west. Rumors, gossip, and tabloid papers said it was for the best. I found out they were wrong a little later. Follow the sun on the rise. If you open your eyes, you can change your view. Walk a city block in these shoes. Something old for something new. Change your view. Walk a city block in these shoes. Gray sky turn blue. Change your view. Well, I can change your view. And I walk a city block in these shoes. Something old for something new. Change your view.
Preliminary subdivision plat. Plat is a final decision by the city unless the applicant appeals to city council. You'll need to contact the city clerk or community development department staff for details on those council hearings. This evening, the applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the request. I don't see anybody, but anyway, will be given 10 minutes to present the request. Proponents and then opponents are allowed to speak from the public, and each speaker is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. The applicant will then be allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed, and the commission will discuss after motion and vote on the issue. All comments are to be germane to the items under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation of the staff report unless an individual present or a member of the commission requests the item be removed from the consent agenda and separately considered under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. To better serve you when possible, please notify us at least 3 business days in advance at area code 515-283-4209 should special accommodations be required. Assistive listening devices are also available for meetings in the council chambers. The Planning and Zoning Commission meetings are broadcast on Mediacom cable channel 7.1 or 7.2 for customers with that service. Kathy, do we have a quorum? Quorum being present. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Abstentions, 1 abstention, 2 abstentions. Okay. All right, passes. The first item is a consent item. There's nobody here. It's a request from Broadway Heights Apartment 2 LLC, represented by Steve Niebuhr, for review and approval of a site plan, Broadway Heights Phase 3, under design guidelines for multiple family residential on property at 4282 East 50th Street to allow development of a 3-story, 30-unit multiple family dwelling. I understand there's some questions with respect to that, Will.
I have one question, Mr. Chair, for the staff. The request is coming from Broadway Heights Apartments 2 LLC. In the staff report, there's a discussion about an agreement between the city and Hubble Realty for bearing costs of expanding East Aurora when it's expanded. And I didn't see a map of East Aurora or a map really of how to access this site that's under consideration. And so my question is, how do all of those relate to one another?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, Michael Ludwig, Planning Administrator. And I apologize, even on our aerial photo, we're further north of the other two phases. East Aurora is actually not constructed, but would run east-west along the southern portion of the first phase of development that's under construction. I do have some photos of that construction. This would be looking from the north to the south, and the existing phase is under construction, so East Aurora Avenue would extend along the southern edge of those buildings in the future. This is a close-up of some of those buildings that are being constructed. Again, this would be looking to the north, so this would be phase 3 of those buildings. These are all basically individual LLCs that own each phase of the development. It really is just how they finance their project. The agreement that the city has with Hubble when they came through in the zoning of the property, of all this property, basically it was Hubble or their assigns in the future. So the agreement carries over to any LLC that is formed that does a phase of development, and they are obligated for their share of the cost of development of Aurora Avenue. That was a pretty key point of the discussion on the rezoning. So we're comfortable that there's all of the necessary agreements in place to protect the city's interests, and we are recommending approval. This is phase 3 of the same project, and you saw a concept sketch that basically showed all of these buildings at the time the rezoning was considered.
I asked the question because right now East 50th dead ends at the south end. Is that correct? All right. I asked the question because when one of these apartment buildings came up a year or two ago, there was actually quite a discussion from the public about about one of them, as I recall, and I wanted to ask the question to make sure that the city and Hubble were still in agreement about the extension of the street. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone who desires to remove this from the consent agenda? You're the only individual in the audience. Are you in opposition to this particular project? Okay. Is there a motion?
I move the consent item.
Okay. Consent agenda has been moved. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. In case, acclamation, Kathy. Carries. Mike, do you have director's report?
Once again, just that July 2nd is the deadline for RFP responses for the project management position for the zoning code and comp plan update. We anticipate tentative schedule interviews with responders by the end of July, and then having it on the council agenda either the first or second meeting of August to have them approve the contract and hopefully have a start September 1. So slowly but surely we're getting there and making progress. So thank you.
I have something I want to go ahead and bring up. I have submitted my resignation to Bob Mahaffey and the City Council. I did a brief letter to them, and I'm going to kind of summarize what I have here. I am going to resign as the chair, and I know that Greg is going to take that position, and I know that he's highly qualified and will do a great job. I'd like to thank everyone for their support and for the support of council during my tenure on the board. It has been an enlightening and rewarding experience. During my tenure, I've had the privilege of watching the city grow and flourish, which is only now recognized on a national level. It was a little tough. I've been happy to be a part of that process and rewarded by the ends to which our city's risen. I've been a member of this body for over 20 years, and I was recently injured. I had a severed Achilles tendon. Greg Jones and Jackie Easley have wonderfully filled in for me, but I think it's at a point where I think the priorities of the board need to be above the priorities that I may have with wanting to stay with this board. And as a result of the bylaws, Greg Jones will be filling my unexpired term. So Greg, if you would, This isn't my mallet, but we use it all the time.
Thank you, Dan.
Wield it carefully.
So are you taking my seat?
I'll take your seat.
Well, can we clap or something?
I'll say thank you, Dan, for your service and many years of service. I thought I'd been on here a long time, but Dan puts me to shame. I have nothing from R&O. We haven't met for a while. Anybody have anything else? Anybody?
You know, Dan, who's going to bring the holiday treats?
You understand that falls on the head of the chair, who, I didn't tell him this ahead of time. The reason why I didn't tell him is because he might have played.
I've been pondering all the things that I have to do. You'll get your holiday stuff.
Well, for the record, thank you very much, Dan. We really appreciate it.
Anything else?
I had a
Wait,
question.
wait.
Yeah, I just had a question for Mike. Since we're having all this changing of the guards, so to speak, and that there is definitely at the city level too, will we be able to continue with the meetings with the interim city manager? What are the plans for interim time period?
Good question.
Yeah, there was a lunch scheduled for tomorrow, but it had to be canceled because of a conflicting meeting that Larry had. So he did indicate he's willing to continue those meetings in the interim, and it's just tomorrow he had a conflict. So the next one would be after your meeting in July, which is July 17th, so the lunch would be the 18th.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay, you bet.
All right, now, does that mean the timing?
No.
Here we are again. Haven't seen you around in a while. Where have you been? New look, you found your style. Make you realize if you open your eyes, you can change your view. Walk a city block in